Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to episode 2 of Sci-Fi Annotated. And this is actually a really exciting episode because not only, am I really excited to talk about some of the stuff going on in the sci-fi realm, but also the new Dune trailer came out and it's been teased forever. It's finally out. And I gotta say, so the topics in today's episode, I'm not gonna do a super long intro. I just want to get into it. So the topics in today's episode: first, we got to talk about this Dune trailer. Number two, Daisy really did a Star Wars very heavy interview. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then number three, if you guys don't mind, we're going to talk about The Boys. And then number four, we may, depending on the time, we may or may not talk Lovecraft Country. I always want to say Lovecraft Horror for some reason, but we may or may not talk about that series. I'm really just kind of like ad hocing it in terms of that fourth one. It really does depend on the time. But so the third topic here, we're going to talk about The Boys on Amazon Prime Video. Great show. If you want something with superheroes, supervillains, et cetera, but not the same old, definitely check out The Boys. I wouldn't recommend reading the comic for the faint of heart, just because the comic is extremely vulgar, especially if you read Herogasm, which, I don't recommend reading if you just if you really want to read The Boys, just read The Boys. Because Herogasm is like an entirely different animal on its own right, even though it's in the same canon universe. But with The Boys, basically, they've been getting a lot of flack for their release strategy, which is like 3 episodes out. And then after that, it's once every week, which personally I think is a good strategy because it's a way to really get people to hook themselves and kind of do like a mini binge. And then after that, you can really draw out the excitement for your series by having it come on every week versus everyone kind of blows the rod in one, weekend sitting, and then they're left waiting for a year or two. Now, the showrunner, Eric Kripke, said the following in an interview with Collider. The airing schedule came actually when we were pretty close to being done, probably 3/4 the way through post-production. For the record, it didn't come from Amazon. It came from the producers. We're the ones that pitched them. A lot of people over there were actually reluctant because it was a new idea or they didn't do it that often. We really wanted it, and Amazon ended up agreeing that they'd give it a try. Our feeling is that when it airs all 8 at once, it becomes a sugar rush of a binge. People burn through it in a week or two. There's an intense amount of activity, and then it sort of fades. There are so many great moments in season 2. We want to give it time to marinate so people can reflect on it and talk about it before they move on to the next thing and be in the conversation a little longer. I think a little anticipation for the fans is healthy. Now, I agree. I 1000% agree with this. I think this strategy, while controversial to some, I think the real problem here isn't the strategy, it's the lack of communication of the strategy. A lot of people still assumed it was going to be all at once binge. A lot of people weren't up to date on the fact. I mean, they weren't really marketing it necessarily in an active sense. They just kind of were, they were marketing that, oh my God, the new season's here, go check it out. They weren't marketing, by the way, the first 3 episodes are here, and then you can check out the rest. And I think a good comparison to this is Lucifer, because that show is very active in telling people like, hey, this is part 1 of season 5. Part 2 comes out later. COVID was a part of the issue. They couldn't do it all at once. But I think it works better. Split it up, let people really sit on it, marinate on it. I mean, you'll have more viral moments, I'm sure, if you have like an each episode every week kind of thing versus everyone. It just all comes out at once. Everyone's trying to catch up on everything, talk about everything at one time. I mean, it has a benefit for sure, but I definitely can see where they're seeing a strength in doing it kind of like a hybrid kind of style to it. So I really hope it works out. I hope this, in hindsight, I know they're being review bombed right now for it, but I really do hope this is something that, in hindsight, with The Boys, isn't a detriment to, the season. Now, talking about this season, I have to say, I love what they're doing with Stormfront. In terms of, if you read Stormfront in the comics, you know what he's all about. But in the show, it's a female. And a little bit different themes. But I like how they're intentionally making Stormfront a character that is going to be able to challenge Homelander, and not just challenge him in terms of like a comeback and stuff like that, but literally, if Stormfront wanted to, she could punch Homelander in the face. And if Homelander punches her back, she would survive. And not only would she survive, she'd probably survive enough to throw another punch. So I like how they're kind of building that this is going to be a thing. And Homelander probably knows, crap, I can't do much about it because it's not like, Stillwell in the last season where I can heat vision her and then, it's done. Or, like this season, right? It's not like he can go to, Giancarlo Esposito's character, I think Edgar is the name, Stan Edgar. You can't go to Stan Edgar, or you can, go to Stan Edgar, and you could slap him, you could heat vision him, and then he's gone. You can't do it to Stormfront. So I like how they're doing that. I like how they're actually putting consequences to the actions of Homelander, because I was curious. I kind of forgot actually about the severity of leaking Compound V out to the public in terms of making these super terrorists. I didn't really think about the fact that it kind of blows the casket on the whole charade of how the superheroes are made in this universe, in terms of it actually being the drug, which was a whole plot line of season 1. So definitely I like that they're building on that. And I'm really curious to see with each episode where it goes from here. Because at the same time, for those who have read the book or the comic book series for The Boys, a lot of us are wondering, are they going to do the twist? And you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the twist. And a part of me doesn't think they're going to do the twist. Sometimes I think they're going to. Sometimes I don't think they're going to. So I definitely feel like, in terms of season 2, the villain's going to be Stormfront, and it's going to end with her being defeated. I'm actually expecting them to do some big reveal with her character in terms of maybe there's another power she has, like longevity. And maybe they are going to do like in the comics where Stormfront is like the first super and from like Nazi Germany and stuff like that. I mean, that would be a really cool twist if they kind of bring that into the fold. But at the same time, it doesn't really seem like it. It seems like Stormfront is very, not millennial, but I mean, a lot younger in terms of being like, a viral sensation, streaming on whatever the Instagram equivalent for The Boys is. So I'm curious to see what they do with it. And at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull a twist like that. And then I'm expecting the major twist that was in The Boys comic series to be maybe the plot line in season 3, because I'm thinking maybe Homelander snaps in season 2, does something in season 2, and that bleeds into season 3, which would lead into like the big twist from the comics. But at the same time, maybe they're not going to do it at all. Maybe they're just going to disregard it, because if I'm being honest, a lot of stuff from the comics could be thrown away. A lot of it could just be thrown away. A lot of it isn't that great, or it wouldn't make sense for what the TV show has built. But that's really my kind of thoughts on The Boys season 2 so far. I guess overall, I haven't really given my thoughts. I just kind of talked about it. But my thoughts on the series so far is I would give it a comfy 8. I think it's been great so far, but I have some disagreements about where they've gone with some of the characters. But overall, I just think it's been a great series. I mean, what more could you ask for than great content, great TV, television during this time? But yeah, so thanks for checking out this episode. It was kind of unorthodox just because a lot of people kept disrupting me while I was recording today. The past few times I've been left alone, but today it seems like maybe because I'm doing it later, people are like, what is this guy doing, in this library, all weird. But yeah, so just leave your comments down below. What do you guys think? What would you like to see us talk about on Sci-Fi Annotated? I know I mentioned in the intro part of this episode, I really want to talk about The Boys. And I'm really sad I'm not going to be able to get into it. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk about Lovecraft Country. I said The Boys. Well, I'm tired. I'll get to Lovecraft Country, I think, next episode, just because I want to give it another episode to properly digest what's going on and formulate my thoughts. Because if it's following the book the way I think it is, next episode is going to have a lot to talk about. So I'm really interested in seeing what they go with there, how much of it they one-to-one adapt, and what they do change-wise here and there. Because so far, I think I've liked the changes they've made. I can't really think of anything different from the book that I would say is a drastic negative. I think overall, it's a very good adaptation in terms of faithfully following the core elements of the story, yet making some smart changes along the way. But leave your comments down below. What are some other sci-fi fantasy related things you'd like to see us talk about on this podcast? With all that said and done, we'll catch you guys later.